Where's the future of SEO and AI SEO going? What's going to happen? Where are we?
A fool with a tool is still a fool. The LLM is like a DJ and your band's just in the mix, right? I mean, you need to make sure that the record is in the DJ's bag. So you might show up, you don't know exactly in which way, but you got to be there. You got to be part of that bag of records. Are you optimizing for search engines? Are you optimizing for LLMs? I think in the end you should be optimizing for the real user. And if you do that, you'll succeed in Google and in the new AI world. If you were the first to adjust your business model to that, you can still lead the way.
Hi, folks, and thank you for joining us today. The topic we'll be discussing today is something that's on top of everyone's minds, and that's AI. In particular, how AI relates to SEO. For agency founders who have already been doing some SEO, there's always the question, what's going to change and how do we adapt to it? And for those who are just starting to think about offering SEO to their customers, there's the question of, what can I learn today to really get a competitive advantage over someone who's been doing this for 10 years. And joining me today is Rick van Haasteren, the founder of SiteGuru, your SEO to-do list. Rick is someone who has been working in SEO for over a decade. He knows all the ins and outs, and he's been keeping a very close eye on all the AI engines development. And in this combo, just a note, we'll be calling them LLMs also, large language models, and looking at how they rank items, how they serve answers, and what there is really that we can influence. So Rick, what have you been doing with regards to AI? What's on top of your mind? What's the most interesting thing you found out?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up sometimes, because as you probably know, there's a new feature every week, new implementations coming out every week, and new ways to use AI every week. So I try to keep on top of it, but it's challenging at times. For myself, what I've been doing mostly is learning to use AI like as a very smart colleague. I think that's one of the best ways to do it. So discuss things with it, get new insights. Other part of the equation is that we're all wondering what's going to happen to SEO and how people currently use Google and search their things on the internet. How's that going to happen when LLMs take off even more? So interesting times for SEOs. A bit scary, but mostly interesting.
How do you see it playing out? So we have LLMs now. We also have Google. We know that the search traffic isn't really decreasing, but how do you see that cohabitation taking place?
I think it's on everyone's mind is how is Google going to respond to this, and we can be sure that they will. We're not sure who's going to be the winner. So is it going to be ChatGPT with a better search variant? Is it going to be any of the other new tools coming out, or is it going to be Google? I think what's important for us as SEOs is that we can be sure that it's going to be a big change to search. Whether that's going to be in Google with their new AI overviews that they're rolling out now, or in any of the other tools, it's no longer going to be like the old 10 blue link scenarios where you just type in a keyword and you get your 10 blue links. And as an SEO, it's your job to be that first link. We're going to have much more context, much more personalization. So everyone will see a completely different search result, if you even can call it that. Keywords are going to change because, as you probably know, you're not typing in one or two keywords like you did with Google into a ChatGPT-like tool, but you're asking questions and it's more of a conversation. So it's going to change no matter who's going to win, is my view. And as an SEO, it's our job to adjust to that.
One of the questions we got from the audience when we polled them, like for the last webinar. So Lacey Jarvis from AAA State of Play, she asks, can AI tools predict shifting user intent before it becomes a trend? For example, if AI can pick up on subtle behavioral shifts like changes in click patterns, it could give marketers like us a head start in creating content today for tomorrow's needs. Do you see AI changing the search intent itself?
I think the search intent will not change that much. I mean, as a searcher, I'm still looking for an answer to my question or for a product to buy or a service to purchase. So the intent itself is probably not going to change. The way people search is going to change massively. So you're going to completely rephrase the question. You're typing in actual questions versus two keywords. And the results that you get is completely different. So that's all going to change. Regarding to the question, is AI able to basically predict the future? I think no. It's important to realize what LLMs are good at and what they're not that good at. Interestingly, when you talk to an LLM or when you interact with ChatGPT, you feel almost like there's a very smart person on the other side of the screen. And it is smart and it can do a lot of things, but it's tempting to fall into the trap to believe that it can do everything. And one of the things it's not that good at is predicting the future because it's using existing data. So no, I wouldn't rely on ChatGPT to predict future search terms that will rank or that will explode. It does a very good job at pattern recognition. So if you feed it a lot of data, then yes, it might detect changes like that or trends like that. But keep in mind that AI isn't good at everything. So predicting the future is not one of those things.
We've started treating it as an oracle. Like if it can create a fitness plan for me, then I guess it can predict the future as well.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to realize that it will respond with everything to keep you happy. And some people call it hallucination, but it will just keep feeding you the stuff that you want it to of which it thinks that will make you happy. And that may not always be true, and it may not be the thing that you really need. It's gonna keep responding with stuff that thinks it will make you happy.
And now to go back to your point about the blue links. So we're no longer competing to be one of the first 10 blue links, or at least the first one. So what should we be looking out for if click-through rates no longer matter? How do we manage expectations for ourselves and then also for our clients? What are the indicators today in this AI SEO era?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think a lot of SEO struggle with. I think it's important to note that we're still optimizing for visibility like we've done for a long time. So you want to be visible to your potential clients. If someone searches for new running shoes, whether they do that in Google or in an AI tool, you want to be visible if you're selling those shoes, right? That's still going to be the case. The format will be very different. It will no longer a blue link. And the other thing that's very different is the way we report on that, because I think for SEOs, Google Search Console has been a very reliable partner over the years, helping us to report on things like clicks and positions and click-through rates and search volumes. That's totally going to change because there's no such thing as keywords anymore, because everyone types in their own questions. There might be a certain topic that people want to be visible for. That's something you'll be able to monitor, hopefully. But it's going to be very different from what we've seen in Google. So it's no longer optimizing for a specific keyword, but for a topic. But if you look back, that's always been a good idea, right? I mean, recently, I think if as an SEO you were still focusing on single keywords and on positions only, not taking into account visibility, you've had a hard time in the last couple of years, because even Google was giving us fewer and fewer clicks over the years. I mean, 10 blue links is like a long time ago. We've had feature snippets for a very long time. Google is answering most of the questions, especially for informational queries, for a long time. We've been getting fewer and fewer clicks for years, but that trend is accelerating now, especially if more people start to move to using LLMs for search. Reporting on that's going to be different. It's going to be challenging. We don't know yet if tools like ChatGPT will also provide Search Console-like features, where you can, as an owner of a website, get some data on who's coming to your site, what visibility did you get, things like that. That'd be great. I'd be really looking forward to that, but I don't think there's any sign of that coming. So what I look at now for myself and my clients is just referrals from ChatGPT. So like the very traditional way of going into Google Analytics and looking at what kind of traffic sources you have. If you see referrals and ChatGPT is in there, then you know you've been featured in someone's answer to a question. So that's one way of tracking it. We do see some cool new tools popping up that help you track that, a lot like the keyword tracking tools that you probably use already. Similar things for LLMs. And on the other end, if Google starts giving us more information about what they do with AI overviews. Currently, that's just, I think, a position 1 in Search Console. We might get more information about that at some point.
And so when you say monitoring referral traffic from ChatGPT, are there any patterns on what kind of sites it shows? For example, is it maybe sites that have been in business for over 10 years, or maybe they have really deep topical authority? What do you think?
One of the clearest things that really stand out is that they are quoting a lot of sites with high authority. Wikipedia is, of course, the big one. Also Reddit and sites like that. Sites that have been around for years, and we know sites like that have been used to feed the LLM monsters, basically. So those will definitely show up. It's also the type of content So if you look at the sites that show up and how they structure their content, it's very easy for those LLMs to use that content because it's already structured in an FAQ way, or it starts with a summary, things like that. If you structure your content like that, that really helps to show up. So yeah, FAQ structure helps. Summaries on top help. Showing your content in a question and answer based format, not just FAQs, but just as a way to structure your paragraphs, for instance, that really helps to get that extra visibility because it's just making it a bit easier for LLMs to consume the content and basically use it in their answering.
Yeah. So in a way, we're getting back to the old paradigm where it was like we write for bots in Google, then we write for humans because the bots got smarter, and now we're doing both,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently heard someone say the LLM is like a DJ and your content's just in the mix, right? I mean, you need to make sure that the record is in the DJ's bag. So you might show up. You don't know exactly in which way, but you got to be there. You got to be part of that bag of records.
That's a good one. We'll quote you on that. And in terms of the way they rank sites, so they browse the internet in real time. We know this. So authority matters. But how important are backlinks, do you think?
Yeah, authoritativeness is still important. It's becoming a lot more important for Google in the recent years. And I think that's a trend that will continue, both for Google and for other AI tools. If we're not looking at AI just as a search tool, but also as an AI as a tool to generate content, there's just so much more bullshit on the web out there because it's super easy to generate content. If I want to write a blog about a topic that I don't know anything about, I can do that. I can publish it on my site and I can even start ranking for it. So I think Google will want to combat that. And that means they need to look at authority like they've started doing for maybe 5 years or so now. When EEAT came out, that's been a big focus. And I think it will continue to be like that. And backlinks still play a very large role in it. And we need to focus on quality backlinks there. I mean, I see some clients who start using these AI generated websites that have no authority whatsoever, use it to get backlinks. I don't think that's going to work in the long term. And also keep in mind that authority doesn't just come from backlinks. It's also like your author profile, the LinkedIn profile that's connected to that. Are you an authority in the field that you're writing about? So it's not just backlinks, it's just authoritativeness in general.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's definitely a part of building a bigger digital footprint, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that includes your social channels, other websites. Yeah.
One of our readers, Chris Flank from Lunar Links, he posed an interesting statement. So what he said was the AI is helping to write the content and helping Google and LLMs score and rank it. Aren't we really letting two machines decide a winner? And if so, can at least mine be dressed in a tie?
Yeah,
And
that's
so
a good question.
yeah, I've had a good chuckle out of it. But I think there is something there. So what are currently the blockers, the limitators that are allowing LLMs and Google to filter out all of that bad, useless content? What's happening on the content front there?
First thought when I read the question was, we've already been doing that for a long time. I mean, machines have been deciding for a long time which content is the best. The only difference is now there's also a lot of machines creating that content. That's not going to change much from a ranking perspective. It's going to change a whole lot from a production of content perspective. And that means there's more content, it's easier to generate content, but it also provides a massive opportunity for you to stand out. I mean, if you are writing on a specific topic and there's a lot of AI content out there and you manage to, by adding this human touch and making sure that you have quality checks in place and you don't just copy and paste whatever's coming from the LLM, then that's an opportunity to stand out. So that human touch is still super important, I think, and that's what's going to set you apart from all the other content out there.
I remember I was talking to ChatGPT about one of my other clients, and I'd asked about the best providers in her industry. And of course, she was not on there because she's, a small scale consultant, but still she has an over 65 domain authority. And so I asked ChatGPT, why isn't it displaying her site? And one of the things it mentioned was needing all of that useful citations, but also specific authority for her niche. Let's just say, as an example, financial consulting for lawyers. Not her niche, but just an example. So it turned out that what it's looking for is going into depth. So completely covering that very specific use case with, I don't know, dozens of content pieces and just answering every possible question. So is that something you also see in practice?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we see a lot from LLMs. You need to be viewed as an authority on your topic, and that's more than backlinks, but that's producing a whole lot of high quality content that's in depth, that's mentioned on the internet, that's linked to your social profiles, and in that sense, it's not very different from what Google's been doing all along. As SEOs, we've been talking a lot about ranking factors, right? Google has been secretive about that, but with some recent leaks and some court cases they had, we've been able to validate a lot of the expectations that people had. For ChatGPT, we're not in a situation like that. So it's still very hard to decide to figure out why is this. And to be honest, I don't think anyone at ChatGPT has a clue either. And that's the same at Google. It's the machines doing it for us. I just hold on to the basics of SEO, and that you still need to have high quality content. You need to establish an authority for yourself, and you need to have a technical sound website so the LLM can actually access it or the crawler can access it. With everything that's changing, there's also quite a lot that stays the same. And that also really helps.
Yeah. And when you think about it, it's logical to simulate the previous search behavior that's worked for Google searchers also in LLMs, because there's the direct confirmation of what works and what doesn't work. So why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly. Yeah.
And in terms of the structured markup, now that's why I always like to say that this AI SEO starts to feel like the regular SEO, but on steroids, and with everyone actually having to do all of those things we've been telling them to do for the past 10 years. So I hear that structured markup is very important to the way LLMs consume content.
Yeah, I'm hearing mixed messages on that. I think apart from like the technical structure data that I always recommend it to add to your pages, the structure of the article itself is also really important. So not just the technical part, but really the content. Do you start with a nice summary? Do you present your content in a way that's easy to consume for a reader? Do you help them find the right specific answer and question that they're looking for? That's again comes back to, are you optimizing for search engines? Are you optimizing for LLMs? No, I think in the end you should be optimizing for the real user. And if you do that, I think you'll succeed in Google and in the new AI world.
At the end of the day, it's all about pleasing the users, the searchers, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's purely a new channel.
Yeah, and you'll like we discussed the DJ metaphor before. You need to make sure that your content lends itself for that. So they call it design for disassembly. So structure your content in a way that LLMs can take pieces of that content and reuse it in their answering. That really helps to get that extra visibility in search.
Absolutely. And is there any tools that can help with that? Because that was also a question. Like, what sort of tools should people be using to get a head start? One of the readers has mentioned that all of these tools right now they're using, they feel fragmented. The whole ecosystem is still immature. So do you have any suggestions on the best things to use?
It's very immature, and that's because we're in a very new area, and everything's evolving so rapidly that as a tool it's hard to keep up with that. I don't really have any tool set that I recommend other than SiteGuru, of course, but content generation wise, I think your tool is not going to set you apart. They always say a fool with a tool is still a fool. And I think that's very much the case here. If you use AI tools to generate content and you're not adding that human touch, you're not going the extra mile by optimizing the content yourself, you're not going to win no matter what tools you have. There's tons of tools out there that generate content that might be relevant for your audience in one click. But if everyone starts using those tools, what's going to set you apart? For years, it's been the case that a good SEO has like empathy and has understanding of their clients, understanding of what people are searching for, things like search intent. If you have that empathy, if you understand your clients, you'll be able to generate great content. And yes, AI can be of great help with that, but there's this thing I checked this morning. The question is, are you using AI as a crutch or as a tool? And you can ask that question to ChatGPT, and you can ask, have I been using you as a crutch or as a tool? And give me a score, and then you'll get a response, and there's a nice graph and everything. And the question is basically, am I using an AI tool to enhance my own efficiency so I can work smarter, get more insights, get more inspiration, all that? Or am I using it as a crutch, letting it do things that I can't do myself? And then you create a dependency on a tool. You don't really grow as a person. The thing here is really to use it as a tool. So you can optimize your content, you can get inspiration, but you should still be the one strategizing for your clients. You should still be the one coming up with the topics. And yes, they can help with it, the tools, but you should be in control. And my biggest issue with relying on tools, it can be very easy to create a whole lot of content that's not valuable to your user, that's not valuable to your client, that won't affect their bottom line. Yes, it may cause your site to rank for specific terms, but that's not what SEO is about, and it's never been really about that. It's about helping your clients and their bottom line, and helping your searchers and get that visibility. So it's a different world, but you still need a lot of the same skills, I think.
Yeah, or otherwise you're, like you said, just a fool with the tool.
Exactly.
So in terms of competencies and skills, so you mentioned a lot of the things are staying the same. So I presume if you have good technical SEO skills, you'll be able to keep applying them with minor upgrades. But is there anything else that SEOs or people who are getting into AI SEO, any skills that they should pick up? Like based on our conversation, the first one I'd suggest is user research. Like start developing that empathy. But is there anything else you see as helping them competitively position themselves?
For SEOs, but maybe for everyone out there, it's important to understand LLMs better. So get a basic idea of how LLMs work, what they are good at, what they're not that good at. We discussed earlier that it's tempting to see them like an Einstein in your basement that you can just ask every possible question. But you got to realize that they can make mistakes. They're good at certain things. They're not that good at other things. And they evolve very quickly. So it's also things that they might not be good at the moment. They might be very skilled at in a couple of weeks from now. So keeping up with those developments is key. I think that's something that's good for everyone, also as an SEO. What do what role do they play in this case in SEO? How do users use it? How do people searching the web use it? That's one of the skills you'll need to work on. The other thing is like we discussed, empathy. So understanding your clients, what kind of searches do they do, where I strongly believe that there's still a big role for like the regular searches, especially when it comes to transactional searches. Because if you want to buy a pair of sneakers, you might have used all these different sites to figure out which one is the best. If like, or maybe running shoes, you might do your research first, and in the past you might get all those content websites, affiliate websites, things like that. That might now move to LLMs, who can just take all that data, summarize it in a nice way that works for you, and have that conversation. But in the end, if you want to buy those shoes, you probably still need to go to a retailer or a web shop where you want to buy it. So there's still a big role for that. The transactional side of SEO probably won't change that much very soon. Technical skills still relevant. We even went back in time, I think, with LLMs, because Google was really good at crawling JavaScript at a certain point, or really good. They got a lot better at it. And we see that LLMs still have great difficulty with that. So making sure your website works without JavaScript has become a lot more important. So some technical skills there can help you as well. And the other thing is that you need to take your clients by the hand, I think, especially if you're an agency. You'll need to explain them what LLMs can do for them. What role do they play in search? How does this adjust KPIs? So take them by the hand and guide them in this new world.
Do you think that almost, if someone's starting to offer SEO, specifically on-page SEO, it almost needs to become a combination of SEO and LLM optimization?
A fellow Dutch SEO expert, Roy Huiskes, he's used the term search experience optimization. So we're no longer just optimizing for the search engine, we're optimizing the search experience of the user and our visibility in that. And I think that's a very good point. There's a lot of acronyms out there now. Geo, I see a lot. But it doesn't really matter how you what you call it. In the end, it's about making sure that if someone searches or has a specific question or is looking for a product, that our client shows up there. That's what it's all about. And whether that's in Google or in ChatGPT, it's still your job to make sure that they're visible there.
Absolutely. And just to go back a bit to the tools that you mentioned, so where exactly in SiteGuru do you right now integrate AI? I know there's help with writing meta descriptions, but what other areas do you help
Yeah,
SEOs with?
those are the core things we do now with AI. So your headings, your meta descriptions, your page titles, basically the things that no one really wants to do, but we know it's still important. We're helping with that, so you can just click a button and you'll get the optimized content. The other thing we start to do is detecting similar content. That's something we're using embeddings. It's like the technical term that it's something that AIs use a lot, and it helps us identify if content is the same, even if it's not using the exact same wording. With tools like that, you can still figure out, is this from a content perspective, is there a lot of overlap in these two pages? So we're using that, for instance, in a duplicate content report. So instead of saying, okay, these two texts are using the same words, we can now much better understand what the meaning of the text is. And that helps to identify similar content, even if the wording is quite different. So we're using that in internal linking optimization as well. So we're providing suggestions for internal linking based on similarity that we use AI to detect. And the next thing that's coming out is going to be keyword clustering, and AI is also going to be a big help in that. So we can cluster your keywords based on, well, their semantic meaning. So instead of just looking at what page ranks for that, we can actually look at the meaning of the word and see if there's any similarity in there, and based on that, group them together. So that's really cool.
It's like you said, basically use it as your companion, use it to help you out, but still take the charge, take the strategic charge. One thing you and I, we spoke about in the past was optimizing for Bing. So Bing used to be the ugly duckling of the search engines. No one paid it any mind, but it turns out ChatGPT is using it as quite a source for the content it shows. So what is different when it comes to Bing optimization if you want to show up in ChatGPT?
What I think is really important as an SEO, if you haven't already, make sure you get Bing Webmaster Tools installed. It's super easy to install, and your insights from Bing Webmaster Tools can really help you get a better understanding of how you perform in ChatGPT or why you're not performing in ChatGPT. So that's the first step that I would recommend everyone to do. How it's different, it's very specific to languages. It's very specific to certain niches.
It seems like really the race right now, if you want to be a good SEO provider or have it as one of your services, it's research. So just staying on top of things and seeing how LLMs rank versus Google and other search engines. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's your role as an agency to guide your clients, and don't wait for them to come to you asking for, hey, what's happening to my website? But be proactive there. That can really make you stand out, I think, as a service provider.
And for agency owners that are just branching out into SEO, they already have a wealth of data they can use to guide SEO as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to slowly, draw to a close, of course, one of the most important questions we've been receiving is the future. Where's the future of SEO and AI SEO going? What's going to happen? Where are we?
I think one thing's for sure, that we're only at the beginning. A lot more is going to change. What the future holds, I can't really predict, but I do have some ideas. AI and personalization will start to play a much bigger role in search engines, any search engine. So that includes Google. And that's going to change also the way agencies need to work with their clients. I mean, content creation has been like a big part of most agencies. That will change a lot, because I mean, paying for 10 articles, it can now generate those 10 articles in 2 minutes. So you'll need to find a way to stand out, and it's going to be different. You'll need to explain to them why you can still provide that value, why you can work with tools like ChatGPT to create that same content but better. You'll need to think about monitoring. If you were the first to adjust your business model to that, you can still lead the way. One of the most tangible things people can do already is start with an AI audit for their clients. You can just go into the tools you have, Google Analytics, see how they're performing, go into Bing Webmaster Tools, see if there's anything that's slightly different from Google, just to give them a basic understanding of where they are in this new AI landscape and what the opportunities are. That helps you establish some authoritativeness in that area. You can get the conversation started about how do you want to report, how are we going to measure that visibility, what's important for you as a client, where do you want to show up, what are the important terms or the important topics that you want to show up for. Try to be in the lead there instead of just waiting for your clients to come back to you and ask, why am I still paying for these blogs?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I come from a content first business. And so that's exactly what we've been trying to do, really trying to get unique value, like proprietary data, talking to people in their companies. It's no longer the era of complacency. none of us can be complacent. And I think also the business owners, they're also going to have to figure out their ideal use cases, which not easy for anyone.
And I think also as a searcher or as an internet user, it's a very interesting development, because sometimes as an SEO, I long back to those days when we just had those 10 blue links. But on the other hand, if I'm searching for something and I get this well-written summary, that's a lot better than clicking on those four or five links to figure out what's really the best article for me. So it's a change as an SEO, but I think as a whole, it really helps our clients.
And all of us as searchers. The first time I started not directly using Google for finding information was, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago. I started adding Reddit to the end of every search I made. So I think it needed to change at some point, but fortunately we're still in the early stages.
Yeah, and Google's having some troubles adjusting to that. Until a couple months ago, you didn't even have to put Reddit into it, because Google would just only show Reddit results for a lot of queries. That's changing now. Google is having issues, first of all, using AI to change those search results and make sure it's more personal. We've seen some very public cases of misinformation. Yeah, I think that comes with new tools like this. But I think Google also has issues with the enormous amount of content that's out there now, and how easy it is to generate, and detecting whether something's written in AI or not is always a big question. But I think in the end, it's about whether it's written by AI or not. Is it valuable to the user? And we've seen some very big changes there, especially some review websites who've been doing like high quality reviews for years, all of a sudden got demoted in the rankings, and they just got taken over by either Reddit or some really crappy other review sites that were clearly AI generated. So also from that standpoint, interesting times.
Yeah, let's be cautiously optimistic. Let's keep researching. Any other pointers you'd like to give to the audience when it comes to adapting to AI SEO? Anything they can do today?
Make sure you're aware of the AI changes that are coming. Think about ways to report to your clients, and make sure you take them by the hand and adjust your content and your content structure to this new way of working. And also, I think it's always important to keep in mind that we're in this very new phase. Something that AI can't do at the moment, it might be able to do very well in a couple of weeks from now. Things are really going fast. So include in AI in a lot of things that you do, because you'll see that if you use it as a tool, as someone to spar with, to get some feedback, it can be super valuable. And keep in mind what its limitations are. So learn a bit about AI and how to use it and how not to use it.
Perfect summary. Perfect summary. Definitely. So folks, start using it, start reading the news, and start staying on top of everything that's going on. As Rick said, things are moving very fast, but it's exciting times. And as with any change, it always gives you an opportunity to do something better than your complacent competitors. Rick, thank you so much for talking to us today. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check out SiteGuru, the SEO to-do list, AI assisted, and with a founder who's very clearly staying on top of things. So you'll be in good hands.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much.
Rick. Bye.
Cheers.